Did you bring some fish?
That is quite logical, Captain.
Where shall I strike?
Test your might. Test your might.
Get it out! Get it out!
Test your might. Test your might.
Your mother was a murderer! You smell like a leopard! You are
Hello, welcome everybody to the Geek Card Show 132. My dyslexic brain for just a moment nearly read that as 123, and I was very excited. There we go. I am, of course, Razerbug, and with me is the wonderful Robbie Glow.
Hello.
Also with us, in the background, if you can hear it, and if so, I apologise, because there's a bit of background noise coming from my end, because A, it's a very warm day today, so the windows have to be open, otherwise I will melt, and B, well, there's a certain Mr. Trump visiting the capital city this week, and he's got a penchant for flying his bloody great ospreys all over the place, and for some reason this seems to be a flight path, so if you can hear a lot of helicopter-y sounding noises outside, that's the usual reason. So I do apologise for that.
Oh.
Starting off a little ranty, there we go.
Yeah. Us to talk about the weather, that's not on.
We have WWDC happening as the show records. We're not going to try and live follow it or anything like that because, well, to be honest, most of it's probably not very interesting. But if there are any highlights, we will bring them to you next week in the show. And we have a sad R.I.P. to pay tribute to. This is Paul Darrow, who played Avon in Blake 7, and had a few roles in Doctor Who as well in the 70s and 80s. As you know, I've just finished playing in a Blake 7 roleplay game, and as part of that, we watched. I think it was like 6 or 7 episodes, like choice episodes from the various different series that were up, and Avon was one of the longest running characters in it, and yeah, there's everyone who was playing in that game had a soft spot for Paul Darrow's character. So there we go.
Yeah.
So as the sound of very large American machinery flies away, why don't we delve into our geeky weeks?
Yeah, so in WoW, I've technically completed a Mythic 10, though it's not been in the timer, but, you know, we can't win them all.
Go you.
But yeah, Charlie, Bert and I managed to get a Mythic 9 done in a timer, so, you know, it was pretty good going. So I'm sure at some point in the next couple of days we'll have another go at a decent.
What was the instance?
Oh, the 10 or
the 9. The 9.
Oh, the 9 was Temple of Snakes.
Oh, really? Okay, so that can be done within the timer. That's interesting.
Yeah, as long as you manage to negotiate the orbs of death in a timely way, you're pretty much all right. And as long as you sort of plan the orbs for the eye.
Yeah, the orbs for the eye was the bit I was thinking would take a lot of time.
If you manage to do it in a way where you sort of have people standing in a line, and as soon as someone throws it, the next person goes round, and you do it in the line so that no one person's holding it for too long. There's some ways to do that. Cool. And funnily enough, the 10 that we just missed was the snacks again, so it was all snacky. But I think Bert has a freehold 9.
Oh, that should be doable.
Yeah, so who knows? We might get a chance at having a go at that tonight. We'll see. Because you and your partner haven't been very well, so you haven't been able to mythic much.
No, so this is the reason that there has been a disruption in the shows as well, because both of us have been absolutely out of it for effectively 2 weeks now. I've never known a cold to take me out so long, and I've still got it. I don't know if you can hear it. It's still Barry White voice and a nose full of grottiness. So yes, it's been disruptive. I haven't been. I think we've just about managed to keep on raiding, which is cool.
Yeah, which is a good thing because you wouldn't have wanted to have missed out when we finally got Blockade down.
No, fantastic that was.
Yeah, got 4 weeks of the same boss.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm not quite sure how we managed to do it in the end. I think we did have a couple more people than we normally do, but because it scales, it wasn't necessarily that. I think it was just more mechanics we'd been so used to because for like 3 weeks previously we'd just seen it constantly for like the 2 hours we raid each week. We just saw the same fight. We didn't see anything else.
Yeah, I mean the several of the weeks we got to that fight as sort of the end of the evening when everyone was already sort of tired and a bit out of it. But I think the other thing was there was two competing thoughts on how to avoid the mechanic on the last phase of the boss fight, which some people were like, everybody split and do their own thing, and then other people were thinking, no, everyone stack and we try and follow a pre-decided path. And the weekend before we finally got it down, our raid leader Avon was having a birthday party, and we sort of had a quick chat about it then, and it was sort of unofficial sort of idea that was passed around and agreed was sort of everyone split on their own and then restack as soon as they've done it. And I was late to the raid, so I don't know how much of that was communicated or if it was just people just got the idea. But certainly for the range side of things, everyone basically would split in their own direction to make sure they didn't die, but then reform.
Yeah. As long as everyone was standing in the same place when the effect started, then it was all right.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it was just a coordination thing, but I don't really like that fight's mechanic. I think me and you were talking about this the other day. It's one of those ones where it splits the party into two groups who have got counter competing requirements for the fight, and I don't think that's the best of mechanics.
And also, we were also talking about how some classes utilize their abilities better to clear up things on the floor, but yet never got the effect. So yeah,
exactly. Like the super mobile arcane mages who can blink forward, reverse the blink, and then blink again to the other side of the room to drop the effect. They never actually got the debuff required.
So it was a bit much. But we did have a couple of goes at Jaina.
We did.
And it's a weird fight. Like the start of the fight's really fun because it's like, oh, we're in the middle of the sea on the ship, and I basically get to utilize mind control and throw people off a boat. Fine, I can live with that. That's quite
was fun.
It was very interesting when the healer had to start the pull because there's like Jaina and two mobs, and I was like, okay, well, I'll throw this one off, and you focus on the other one. Okay,
I mean, we all know it's the rogue's job to start the pull.
Yeah, true. But it's a weird fight so far, isn't it?
Yeah, I kind of like it, but at the same time, it's tough.
Oh God, is it tough? It's not so much like stand in the right place, don't get the effect, because that's like every WoW fight ever. So it's like, not just that, but then they throw in things like, oh, if you get touched by this thing, you die. Or if you get stuck on a pixel the wrong side of this thing, you get blocked out for the rest of the fight.
I remember that was. I think I was enjoying that because that is a fight where arcane mages benefit from being super mobile because you're just constantly blinking in and out of things.
Well,
I think if I have to do that on my paladin, I might suddenly find myself enjoying it a lot less.
Yeah, you'll basically have to have your spec into twice a cavalier, won't you? For that. But I think we've got a good chance of getting it done because we want to get on to the next raid. Which, speaking of, I finally did get the item from the Naga invasion.
Yes.
For Xalatath's secret society, whatever you want to call it. And my disc priest is now wearing a hat that is an eyeball.
So we were the only two people in our little 5-man team with the eyeball because I don't think anyone else has done it. And obviously you can only see people with the eyeball if you have one yourself.
We had trouble the first time round when the Naga invasion started because there was a bug that meant that it wasn't a guaranteed drop. So all of my characters, apart from my major, would just happen to stumble upon it another time when it had been fixed. Had done Naga invasions and just given up because it's like, oh, well, I'm not going to get this item. And then it was hot fixed, and then all of a sudden last night there was one there, and I was like, okay, I've got a couple of minutes. I'll just make sure I'll get to didn't necessarily finish the invasion. I just made sure I did enough to get the drop. So I did that. So yeah, WoW's been a bit up and down lately, like partly because of like raids, not almost raid burnout, but we were at a point where it's just like, for goodness sake, we just want this to be over. And Mythics being sort of not so regular at the minute because either people have been ill or because it's summer, people start to not recluse inside. So yeah, it was a pretty good week really for WoW. But in other news, I ordered an M.2 SSD drive because on Amazon I noticed that they were 55% off.
Oh wow, nice.
So there was one that was I think, let me just look. It's a WD Green 240 M.2, and it retailed on Amazon for I think £85, and
Nice.
I managed to get it for 30, I think it was. And then I did the stupid thing. I was like, oh, that's cheap. And then I realized, oh, wait, this is an old motherboard. Of course, I didn't.
I was just about to ask, does it have a slot for that?
It doesn't. So what I ended up ordering was a M.2 to 2.5 adapter. So it just looks like an SSD drive.
That makes sense, yeah.
Because I had a slot that meant I could screw in an SSD drive. But I haven't been using it for storage or whatever. I actually put a new operating system on it.
Nice.
So I'm now running a variety of Linux called Pop OS, which is specifically designed for gaming clients and graphical interfaces. So I'm seeing how that goes at the minute. Because
do you dual boot with the Windows MBR, or do you use Grub?
I use Grub.
Grub, yeah.
Because Grub's a nicer way of doing it, especially because if you prioritize the Linux drive, it will automatically boot to Grub. But if you prioritize the Windows drive, it will just skip it and just boot Windows. So it was the only way to sort of get that to work was to make sure that the Linux drive was the priority boot.
You can't. You want to be careful with that though, because when Windows does an update and it needs to restart, you need to make sure it boots back into Windows, because if it boots into Linux, it can interrupt the update.
Yeah, I've done it in such a way that meant that it will stay on the Grub loading screen until I pick. It won't time out, or it won't auto pick. It will just come up and say Linux or Windows, pick one, and I'll just stay here until you pick one. So it's good. What I liked about it was that it had things like Steam already put in integrated into the OS.
That's cool.
And I've been playing some games on it. I've downloaded Lutris, which is the sort of Windows games to Linux sort of step between, so that it installs the files and things like that to make sure that things run properly. Okay. I've played WoW on it, and I've played WoW with LVY on it, and I've actually got a better frame rate out of it, but I'm not using it as a priority at the minute because I haven't found a way to auto-update my add-ons yet.
Yes. Does Twitch not have a Linux client?
Twitch doesn't have a Linux client. You have to run it through Lutris, which is awkward because I haven't found a way to be able to switch between Lutris programs. So if you launch a game from Lutris, it will say Lutris is playing WoW. But if you want to do something else, you have to go into Lutris again and do it. But you can't Alt tab between the two. So it's a bit kind of like, oh, for goodness sake. But as soon as I find a way that I can auto update add-ons in a Linuxy way, which meant maybe it's a third party thing where it just scans your add-ons folder and then finds the names of the thing and says, "Do you mean this thing?" Maybe. But it's more something that I'm going to have to spend a bit more time on looking into. I mean, I am considering dropping Windows because Windows is bloaty and horrible, and also there's a lot of privacy concern because, of course, Windows is the most popular OS for PC, and Linux has a lot of things built into it that are really, really, really nice features.
Let me know how you get on with that, because I might do the same. I'm as you know, I'm facing having to reinstall my Windows after a bugging up update has meant it's been blue screening at random times, like in the middle of raids.
Yeah, I mean the reason I picked Pop OS was because it's based on it's sort of based on Ubuntu Linux, and it's sort of I've been used to that because I've dabbled with Ubuntu in the past, but there is another variety that's similar called Manjaro, which is an Arch Linux base. So there's different distros that are designed for gaming on Linux. And I've also considered maybe having a go at the Manjaro one because it has even more integrated support built into the OS for gaming. It doesn't require additional downloading or depositories or things like that for Linux hardware and software. So yeah, I have to let you know how that goes. And the only other thing that I did this week is that we were on a little podcast called Girls Gone Wow.
We were. Hopefully you caught that on VOG Network, and if not, go and give it a listen. We get into a bit of an epic discussion about stuff.
I forgot what the topic was. Oh, Discord and
Discord
community.
and community.
What was that topic thing we talked about 2.5 hours for? Yes. But go and have a listen to that if you're a WoW person, and more than likely you're probably a WoW person if you listen to this one because you've probably found us via them. So pretty much probably already listened to it. But it was a good show. I enjoyed it.
Yes, it was really cool. We always like to go on and also have the ladies what WoW on.
Ladies, what done did WoW?
What done did WoW? In fact, speaking of, how are you with your Star Trek Discovery watching? We really must get.
I am. Let me just Let me just go on to the thing that says what episode I've been on.
Because we really must get our Star Trek Disco episode out.
Yes. So I am on the season 2, episode 9.
Nice.
So I'm about 1, 2, 3. There's a double seat one at the end, isn't there?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm about maybe another. Let's just go with a fortnight and see how we get going.
There we go.
We'll get that done, and we can have a good old talk-a-rooey about that.
Indeed. So for my week, I've spent a lot of time. Well, actually, not a lot of time. I've had any sort of, as both of my characters are in WoW are 120 and they are almost 400 eye level, which means I'm only going to be getting gear out of mythics and raids. I've been pottering around on my Void Elf Warlock, and he's now got to 79. In fact, by the end of this evening, I won't be surprised if he's level 80, which means he's off to play with the pandas.
Yeah.
I'm using the Azeroth Autopilot add-on, and although it means that you don't get to, well, I mean, the way it's default setup, it auto accepts quests and auto hands in quests, so you don't really get a chance to see the quest text. But obviously, if you've already played the content, that's less important. I might turn that bit off for Pandaria to enjoy the Pandaria's quest. It's really enhanced and efficient. That made the leveling even experience really efficient and really enjoyable, because it doesn't do what I would usually do, which is get a quest, do a quest, come back, turn it in, get a next one. It sort of collects a load of quests in one group, and then it collects a load of quests that are going to be related to it later on, and then it collects a load of quests that will go after that, and then it says, right, now go away and do all of them, and then don't turn them all in, go off and do some more that are in the area, and in that way it just makes leveling very efficient. And I usually found I could get 1 or 2 levels done an evening. So I've actually decided I'm going to take this this tune up to 120 and have a third max level, fourth max level character. Actually, I just don't play the third one because in 8.2 there's a new mechanic being introduced, which is going to make it easier to gear ults. So I'm liking that idea.
Yes.
And yes, now we're in the raiding equivalent of feeding hordies to Aunty Jaina. So I don't feel too bad when my unwanted orc character eats a magic missile and inspects the floor. On the roleplay front, we are. It was very interesting last week. We had a whole evening devoted to character creation. Now that usually means that the character creation for the system is way too complicated, and then you could make the case that the system is complicated, but we're trying out a game that was funded on Kickstarter from the creator of Numenara, and it's a game called Invisible Sun. And I think we've talked about it before. It's kind of like a sort of fantasy, surrealist, matrixy thing. After a long character creation session, my character has turned out to be something of a 1920s gentleman warlock. Yes, we'll have to see how that plays out. It's a very intriguing system. Everyone is a magic user of some sort in a world of fantasy, and there's a very fun world building mechanic of other people picking elements for your character's sort of street they live on their house and that sort of thing. So there's definitely an undertone of surrealism and weird comedy in there, as well as the full on role playing elements. So yes, I'll let you know how Invisible Sun plays out.
Yeah, please do.
So, with that, on to the news. Now, there has been a interesting example in how not to do product placement. And now, I should say, full disclosure, I do work for a technology advertising company that does do disruptive advertising, but not quite as disruptive as North Face, the outdoor clothing and equipment brand has run into with a interesting but ultimately really poor taste ad campaign that they then boasted about and annoyed most of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a campaign that was run by an agency called Ad Age. They ran promotional videos explaining what they'd done, which was the sort of bit that really annoyed everybody, because what they'd done is they had edited they'd taken pictures of their items, their clothing, etc., in famous places, even not famous faces, like the Cullen Hills or Sierra Fena and places like that, the national parks and these sorts of things. And then they had edited the pages of Wikipedia about those landmarks and places of national interest, and replaced the pictures of them with pictures of the North Face clothing in those locations. So imagine editing Mount Rushmore's wiki entry to include some of Mount Rushmore's faces in the background, but a bloke in an anorak in the foreground.
I was thinking if Gucci had put sunglasses on them or something.
So they're quoted as saying, "We did what no one has ever done before. We hacked the results of the world's largest search engine." So what they were doing is, the reason they were replacing the pictures on Wikipedia was not because they wanted people to see them on Wikipedia, but they wanted Google, which automatically lists Wikipedia pictures as its first preview images. They wanted them to appear on Google's results when people searched for these particular places. Yeah, the only slight problem with that is it's really, really against Wikimedia Foundation's mission statement and the idea behind Wikipedia and letting it be editable by a large collaboration of editors. So they shot back against this, saying that North Face had risked your trust in our mission for a short-lived marketing stunt, and Wikipedia and the Wikimedia Foundation did not collaborate on this stunt, as North Face falsely claims. When North Face exploits the trust you have in Wikipedia to sell you more clothes, you should be angry. And the web was angry.
Yeah.
Twitter did not like it, and it was summed up pretty sensibly when Wikipedia editors likened it to defacing public property, which the article here on Gizmodo asks whether these people are vandals or marketing pioneers, and I was wondering what you thought of that, Robbie Glad.
It's sort of digital vandalism. in a way, because when you're going into a source like Wikipedia, which is a general sort of collaborative project of information, you trust that it's impartial. You have to, right? There's sources and things. So for certain topics, you would think, like, if there's a picture of a geographical location, it would be a picture of it, not like a picture taken from a leaflet or something like that, right? It's like they said it's like they risked the mission for a short the Wikipedia mission, which is the internet of information collaborative in one place, for a gimmick. It's a gimmick.
It is.
And it's also a really kind of disrespectful.
It is. I mean, it's taking a something which is supposed to be an open and trustworthy source of all of human knowledge, and just turning it into a cheap way of sticking an ad in front of someone's face. It's telling that Google uses Wikipedia as the source of its first images that it puts up, because it trusts Wikipedia, and obviously people visiting Wikipedia for information trust what they're seeing is going to be unbiased and as best they can, fighting the trolls, unbiased and untruthful. Now, North Face doing this has abused the open editing policy and put a bias onto Wikipedia, which it didn't ask for. I thought the fact that it claimed that Wikipedia had collaborated with them when they really...
Yeah, like, do you know what? I reckon, like, they obviously haven't done, but I reckon if they had just donated, like, as you can do, they would have then claimed that they collaborated because they paid. But they didn't even do that. They just said, "Oh yeah, we worked together with Wikipedia for this," and I'm like, "That's totally not what Wikipedia would do." Talk about lying through your teeth and getting caught.
Yeah, it's bad enough to imply by putting the images in there that Wikipedia somehow endorses North Face, but then to actually come out and say that they do, that's
yeah. A lot of people replied saying that they really love their Patagonia coats. So I was just like, yeah, fair. Like that. But it's really, really bad that if you're claiming that you've collaborated with a company, especially and putting that online, you would definitely want to have the receipt showing that. Even if, like, say for example they had collaborated with Wikipedia, let's just play devil's advocate, and then they put out the one saying the tweets saying, "We're really disappointed that they unethically manipulated Wikipedia," that 10-point tweet that they did. And then North Face replied with, "But you said we could," and then had an email or something saying that's fine. That if you're going to lie about something, at least, like, don't just like believe that people will just take your word for it because you say so.
Yeah,
like, have proof. It's the internet, dude. Like, people do all sorts of crazy shit online now. Including finding where you live. Like, it's not even a joke anymore, because, like, Wikipedia tagged both the company and the person whose idea this was, I think. Yeah. It's not difficult for that to become extremely invasive on the other end, where it has real world consequence. It's just that day and age we live in now.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is that this is one of those things where this is why we can't have nice things. If people doing this are abusing Wikipedia's openness policy, then in the end they'll
say nope, no fun for anyone.
Yeah, and the other problem on the other end of this is that you're inviting yourself now to. I mean, if I was an editor on Wikipedia, I might have a choice edit to make about the brand North Face.
Someone did actually say, "Why don't you just delete their entry?"
Just delete their entry, yeah. But there we go. So, not. I mean, it was a what's the word? It was a clever but not particularly wise move there, North Face. We see what you did there, but you shouldn't have, because
it was cunning.
It was cunning. Yes, it was cunning, but it wasn't clever. So there we go. So, from Patagonian coats to Battinson capes. This is news that has got the internet a Twitter. I should have said a flutter, but I saw the bird of Twitter.
The internet of Twitter.
It's
Like
got the
that.
internet of Twitter. Because Warner Brothers have announced that Robert Pattinson of Twilight fame and Harry Potter fame will be the next Batman.
He's Batman.
It has been pointed out by CodeCat that it is not actually Robert Pattinson that's been cast; it's just his jawline.
Yeah.
But yeah, interestingly enough, I was less interested in this news because, to be honest, I've lost all faith in any DC film. The TV shows are great, the films not so much. But I was more impressed about the Twitter responses to this. So quite a few people posting up pictures of Pattinson in a tux next to pictures of Bruce Wayne in a tux, and yeah, to be honest, it's not a bad cast. They do have similar features. I mean, the chiseled jaw and high cheekbones is sort of the standard American male actor anyway. But yeah, the sort of response, and we'll link to them in the show notes of people on Twitter were mixed. Some people were saying, it's absolutely brilliant, and and saying that they supported the idea. Others were really quite against it. One user that I did find quite amusing was congratulations and apologies to Robert Pattinson for making him return to Comic-Con and deal with nerd bullshit for the next 6 years.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. Someone else very on the nose saying, how long before some stupid petition gets set up to get someone else to be Batman? Fans are the worst these days. Quite true. And someone else has posted a picture saying, George Clooney. No one can ruin Batman as much as I did. Val Kilmer and Ben Affleck tried, but I'm still the worst Batman of all time. Robert Pattinson. Hold my beer, George. So we see a rather divided Twitter scene for the news. What do you think, Robbie? Do you think he'll make a good Batman? Or
I think, based on so far, you can only base the look, right? The casting. I think it's appropriate. But like you said earlier, with the whole DC films being in the trash at the minute, I'm unlikely to see this film, so I don't really have much of an opinion. But I'm not going to say it'd be shit because I don't know that. So
yeah, I mean, it's interesting for me. I always find that no one is ever cast as Batman or cast as Superman or what they're either very good at or very bad at is being the alter ego. So, Christian Bale is very good as Batman, but I'd argue he wasn't great as Bruce Wayne. George Clooney was great as Bruce Wayne, but was not very good at being Batman. I think if it remains to be seen which one Robert Pattinson's good at. I mean, if he ends up being good at both, then wow, you've done the thing that no one has managed to do so far. But I have a feeling he's probably going to be another, pretty good at being Bruce Wayne, but not so good at being Batman. We'll have to see. Two things that strike me is one, he is going to need to seriously hit the gym to get in condition to play Batman because the guy's supposed to be an Olympic level athlete and an MMA fighter and everything else to boot. So that be interesting to see if he can do the same sort of body transformation that Christian Bale is famous for. And two, does this mean they've taken the decision to keep Batman, late 30s age range rather than the late 40s, early 50s, which Batfleck portrayed him as? I'm in favour of keeping him, peak sort of physical condition Batman fighting the good fight rather than old weathered Batman who's lost his faith in his mission and that sort of thing. While that can be a fun story to play, I think we got the Dark Knight Returns comic or graphic novel. I don't feel the need to keep replaying it on the screen because it didn't work the first two times with Batman versus Superman and Man of Steel. So yes,
yeah.
But let us know what do you think out there. Are you in Team Pattinson? Do you think it's going to be a good look as Batman, or is it just his jawline that they've cast? So there we go. Now some fun news that I just sort of skimmed over, thinking that I must have read it wrong. And that is that there's going to be a Magic the Gathering TV series, which is, that's interesting. How are you going to convert, a collectible card game, which is cynically, if I've got my cynical hat on, just designed to empty teenage boys of wallets of money, as it nearly did mine when I was of the target age. How are you going to turn that into a television show? And then I sort of dived in a bit more, and it's interesting. It's actually going to be an animation.
Oh,
which is cool because there's some really awesome, things like Dragon Princess and those sorts of animations with utilizing modern day 2D and 3D computer generated imagery alongside artists' work could make for a very cool animated TV show. And then the big sort of one that made me think, okay, this is probably going to be awesome. It's being directed by the Russo brothers of Avengers Endgame fame. Sorry, did I say directed then? I meant produced. It's being produced by the Russo brothers, which means they'll have creative input. I mean, I guess an animated TV series has less of a use for a traditional director role, so it will mean that they have the creative input and decision making responsibilities there. So they're actually quoted as saying, we've been huge fans of and players of Magic the Gathering for as long as it's been around, which is 1993, by the way. So being able to bring these stories to life through animation is a true passion project for us. Well, that's really cool. You definitely want it to be a passion project for the producers involved. The head of anime programming at Netflix says Magic is a beloved franchise with so massively engaged fan base that's only continued to grow in the past 25 years. There's no one better suited to bring this storyline to audiences around the world than Joe and Anthony Russo, whose talents for genre storytelling is unmatched, as is demonstrated by the central role in creating some of the biggest box office hits of all time. So it's coming to Netflix, and sounds like they're liking it. So yeah, this is right. I think this is really interesting. I think it's really cool. I can see this this being a fantastic new animation, and I look forward to it, especially as it's going to be on Netflix.
We'll just have to wait and see.
We will. Did you play Netflix? Did you play Magic the Gathering when you were younger, or do you play now for that?
I didn't know. I knew a lot of people who did. But I think I was a little bit late to the game.
Fair enough.
Yeah. You?
Yeah, I played it for maybe about a year before I realised I was kind of spending all my pocket money on it and all my allowance, as Americans would say. I sort of thought, well, hang on, I'm not really taking it to tournaments and I don't really want to get that deep into it. So, yeah, there you go. I prefer things like D&D and tabletop stuff to card games. I know you and I used to play a lot of Hearthstone, but even then I think we've kind of fallen out of favour with the collectible card games. After a while, I feel like they just get played to win. Yeah, but you can't fail to win with a animation done by the Russos. So I am very happy about that.
Yes, indeed.
What's been catching your eye this week, Robbie?
So I don't know if you heard, but a little thing called 5G launched in the UK last week.
It did, and the network that I use as my cell phone carrier has pipped everybody to the post. So I'm very pleased about that.
They have. So last Thursday, I believe it was, there was an interesting thing that happened on the early morning BBC breakfast show. There was a bit about 5G. And then halfway through, it was sort of revealed that it was being streamed via 5G.
Yes, but didn't it go a bit wrong, a bit choppy and flaky?
It did a little bit, but the idea was there. It was just proof that it's on and it worked. So yes, as you mentioned, EE is the first network to launch 5G in the UK, and it's technically so far the only one that has done so. So I think it's London, Belfast, Cardiff, Edinburgh, Manchester, and Birmingham. The cities that have 5G connectivity at the minute, and then there'll be a number of other places towards the end of the year. So E last year had quite a big stunt/trial where it switched Canary Wharf on, used it as a 5G trial network.
Good news, we turned Canary Wharf on.
Yep, they did, and then they expanded that to 9 sites across London, and it seemed to work. They're also planning to bring 5G to Glastonbury this year, so people who are going there can have a chance to experience the technology at the event. So nice. I'm guessing they'll have a little booth there, or if not, people will be able to access 5G with a 5G handset. Vodafone's on its way to getting 5G by July. Same sort of thing where a couple of cities will get it before everyone else does. With then adding numerous others by the end of the year. So I think 5G in Vodafone is what the Media City UK in Salford, which is where most of the BBC is based at the moment. If I believe rightly, they're not in White City as much anymore as they used to be. They're in Manchester now, aren't they? A lot of it.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So Vodafone was letting businesses use their sort of trial areas in Salford, and it seemed to work. So they're now moving on to other parts of the country, and moving on with that. 3 is going to be quite late to the game, I think. But
presumably they're too busy changing their name to 5.
Yeah, probably. I mean, they've been on 4G for ages and never bothered changing it to 4, did they?
No.
I think the main reason that they're going to be late is because they want to make sure that they have the best quality of signal before in their trials, before they roll out things. So they're doing what they did with 4G, which was they waited and try and get the technology to be stable and improve. And as a consequence, they were regularly voted the top for 4G service, because their company is essentially the data sim of the mobile network world.
Yeah.
And they're also forming a cloud-based 5G network, which I'm not quite sure how it's going to work, but they've spent $2 billion on it, so let's hope it does something.
Yeah.
And then finally, O2 has said that again they'll get 5G rolled out before 3, but after Vodafone. And they'll initially in the UK's 4 capital cities, which is Belfast, Cardiff, Edinburgh, and London, for those of you who want to keep up. So they're going to be carrying out a number of trials, including, well, let me see if I get this right. These include trials of a massive MIMO, which is a technology that will be fundamental to 5G at King's Cross, Marble Arch. And also, I think they're going to be trying to turn the O2 into a test bed for the technology, which makes it just look like they're using the Millennium Dome for like 5G antenna receptor, which could be a good use for the building. But the O2 own that, don't they? So they can do what they want with it. But it's going to be weird because a lot of people I know don't technically use. They don't technically use these networks, as in they buy their SIMs and the carrier is them. They use the I keep forgetting what the technical word is, but then the network is one that piggybacks off the infrastructure. So, for example, if you're on giffgaff, you use O2, but you're not an O2 customer, you just have the giffgaff uses the O2 network.
So presumably you can't offer the service before your host carrier is already offering.
Yes. In fact, as a gift customer, I've seen very many people complain that they're not going to get it straight away until they realise, oh wait, we get a really good deal because we don't pay for this infrastructure. Got it. So they use a tried and tested network.
So just for our American listeners, it looks like Verizon's 5G is, or I should say was now, turned on in certain cities as of May 16th. And quite interestingly, they also said they would offer 5G services to an LG phone that came out with 5G capability that was exclusive to Sprint. So they're poaching another network.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. AT&T have 12 cities running 5G wireless, and they're rolling out to a whole bunch of others. I'm not going to read them all out. December 2019. So it's looking like America to be fully covered with 5G is going to be end of this year. With certain cities obviously already trialing it in the same way that the UK is.
Now, given that when the jump from 3G to 4G was quite big, and obviously a lot of people had 3G unlimited, they were quite disappointed that 4G unlimited wasn't available straight away. Because of 5G being designed to be able to carry such a heavy bandwidth, do you anticipate it being that long between the launch of the service before it then offers an unlimited SIM?
No, I think it's probably going to be quite a coup for the way data works in the UK, because it went from it being the sort of premium thing that people paid extra for, data on their accounts and being very limited, to slowly adopting a sort of, oh, well, if you don't use all your data, it'll roll over to your next month. So, you'll have a bit more next month and trying to offer it a sort of fake unlimited service that way. And now I think especially with like the abolition of roaming charges in the EU and that sort of thing, the data has become seen as the core of what you do on the phone, and voice and text is now the sort of optional extra you get, for want of a better expression. What will be interesting, I think, in terms of the user base, I think unlimited data is probably going to be coming to a lot of the plans, which means that a lot of the selling points of various mobile networks is going to have to change. But what I would be interested to know is how 5G rollout is going to butt heads against the UK government, and actually the American government as well, decision to drop Huawei technology infrastructure and phones from their 5G infrastructure. From the network. I mean, there's already people criticizing EE for using Huawei equipment in order to get 5G out first. There's the BBC is taking decisions on whether or not to use it.
It was weird because the BBC, the thing we were talking about, the first 5G live broadcast we were talking to earlier, showed a shot of the van that they were using, and it had a Huawei radar on it, or not radar.
Well, there they are. They've obviously decided they are going to use Huawei equipment, but how does having England's primary public service, in theory unbiased news service, tied into another nation's interest? There's all sorts of questions like this, and it's not really for us to pontificate on. But these are sort of what's the word? Not frustrations. That's the wrong word. Challenges that that people rolling out 5G are going to have to go with. The rollout and the speed and the price versus public image. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where that one goes. And if people, especially if the UK legislate that against the use of Huawei equipment, then obviously it means people are going to have to swap out a lot of this early adopter infrastructure they've put in place.
Almost making it redundant off the bat.
Well, it's going to be interesting because this is coming out and rolling out in the next few months, but obviously the handsets need to be there for people to take advantage of 5G. I mean, like I mentioned, we've got WWDC going on at the moment. I would hope if they've got any sort of eye on the way the winds are blowing, that the next iPhone is announced and is 5G ready. Samsung and LG have got a couple of 5G handset out between them, but yeah, certainly there's not the wealth of 5G capable handsets that we have 4G capable handsets now, and obviously until it becomes quite widespread and there are cheap options out there for customers, it's going to be interesting to see how quickly it gets adopted.
Yeah.
It's also one of the big driving things about it is the whole idea of the Internet of Things, but right now that's so problematic in and of itself that I don't know that there's going to be the drive for early adoption just for ever quicker connectivity and.
But Razerbug, how am I going to tweet from my fridge?
Oh, if you're Mr. Trump, how are you going to tweet from the bathroom?
To be fair, he did tweet on the plane earlier.
Helicopter,
helicopter.
Yes.
Yeah,
no, I think you're right. Actually, he was tweeting on the plane and then on the helicopter.
What a world we live in!
I know. It's the joys of 5G, apparently. So there we go. Let us know if you think you're going to be an early adopter of the 5G techno craze, or if you're going to wait and see how it pans out. Yes, there we go. So we have just summarised a completely random selection of geek news this week, which means it's time for us to tell you that if you want to get all kinds of other awesome geeky, pop culture-y, media-y, video gamey, whatever you're into content, then you need to head over to the Voice of Geeks Network, vognetwork.com, and there you can find all sorts of amazing shows, and of course you can find Girls Gone Wow, and you can listen to the episode we were on. A little bit of self-service there. All right, so we've been asking you all the way through this show to write in and let us know what you think about the various topics we talk about, things we should talk about, anything else going on in your geeky lives, and we have a few items in the inbox.
So Marie tweeted saying, in regards to Detective Pikachu and the joke about people trying to put fingers in me, Americans would take it that way too. Very good. That's the very first thing anyone I know would think of. It never occurred to me that it might have meant his ears. # gutter mind. Same.
Yes, I think I was trying to be charitable by saying that maybe it's just us overly innuendo-laden Brits who thought the worst of that comment, and that actually it was maybe someone tried to poke him in the ear.
No, don't be silly. Marie then updated us for the first time in a while, actually, about family D&D. She says, I'm running an open-ended campaign for my elder son. He's playing a level 4 Scorpid Sorcerer and a level 5 Arcane Tinkerer from the website dmsguild.com. I think that was the one that Marie referenced a few...
Yeah, DM's Guild is like an online place where people can sell supplementary material for D&D, and it's sort of kind of Wizards of the Coast approved, so it's been playtested.
Is it sort of like homebrew, but not more official?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's mostly do bounties posted outside taverns and in the town square, but he had fun setting up his workbench of holding with 8 tool proficiencies. Very nice. Among his job was fixing a necklace, fixing a music box that he improved to record sounds and follow its owner around when called, making and gifting a wand, and making glass ornaments.
Nice.
So it's lovely that you're doing that with your kids.
Yeah,
D&D's important.
It's fantastic. I love the fact that he effectively made Siri. And actually, I'm going to have to check out the Arcane Tinkerer from dmsguild.com, because I've been looking at an artificery style character from for a 5e game that some friends of mine are proposing to run. So I have to check out dmsguild.com.
Oh my god, there's a 5e package about turtles.
Do you know there's a PDF out there where someone has converted all original 150 Pokemon into D&D 5e monsters?
Nice.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah, I would love to play a D&D 5e Pokemon game. That would be kind of crazy. There you go. So, if you want to get in touch with us, as Marie did, you can tweet the show at TGC Show. You can find the links that are in our show notes over at thegeekcard.podbean.com. If you would like to hear us not live every Thursday, one day before the rest of the internet gets hold of us, that's vognetwork.com/the-geek-card. And if you would like to raid with us and do other awesome stuff with the WoW community, North America and EU, with the ladies what done a gone wow, then head over to allthews.girlsgonewow.net/discord, join our Discord community that we talked about on the show last week, and yeah, it's awesome. We raid Wednesday nights for those of us in the EU, and we start at 8:30 officially, although we sort of congregate a bit before then.
I think it's technically now 8.
It's now 8, and then we go through to about 10 o'clock. And it's a casual, quote unquote casual raid. Everyone's welcome, everyone's supported, and no one's judgy. But we're doing pretty well. We're almost cutting edge with the raid releases. So yeah, do join us.
Yes.
Righty then. Until next week, we just have to do one thing. But before we get to that, Robbie, how can people find you on the Twitters if they would like to?
You can find me at Robbie_glow.
And you can find me at RZBG.
You've been listening to The Geek Card with your hosts, Razerbug and Robbie Glow. You can find The Geek Card wherever fine podcasts are found and on the web at thegeekcard.podbean.com. The Geek Card is a proud member of the Voice of Geeks network, where you can find other amazing podcasts like Orange Lounge Radio, Starboard Power Coupling, and Girls Gone WoW. Find out more at www.vognetwork.com.